Was the Cleveland torso murderer a time traveler? Why didn't the murderer come forward and collect the reward for information? Am I the murderer?
You might be.
Stick around. Stick around, and you might just find out the answers to these questions on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Solved! Welcome to the podcast, Mystery Solvers. It is Saturday, the most mysterious day of the week. I am your humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries, here with my co-host, also a PhD in solving unsolved mysteries.
Yep, Cassandra Cherry here.
And since I didn't say it,
What?
I'm Chad Kimmons.
Yeah, you are. I almost forgot about that.
I know, if you don't hear my name once a week, you forget who I am.
I know, it's so terrible having the memory span of a Dory. Who are you again?
I am your humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries.
Chad Livingston.
Livingston? Is that a person? Hold on.
I don't know, honestly. That's just the first name that came to mind.
That sounds like a person. Chad living the van life? What the
What? Chad living the van life?
I put Chad living. I mean, yeah, there are people named Chad Livingston. Anyway, so if you've never listened to the podcast, first off, what the hell have you been doing with your life?
I mean, really, honestly, we're right here.
Exactly. I mean, just follow the sound of my voice. Secondly, let me explain it to you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna learn you something. So every week we bring you an unsolved or unexplained mystery. We give you the facts. We talk about it. And then we solve it.
Woo!
And you know what? Our word is law, by the way.
Yeah, we lay down the business, and there's no other answer than what we give you right here, because we got the PhDs.
So today's mystery is a listener suggestion. Comes to us from Stephanie. I'm going to butcher your last name, Spudik or Spudik.
For some reason, your last name makes me really hungry.
I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Stephanie, if you're listening. I told you we would look into this, and we finally got around to it.
Woo! It's been 13 years of it, waiting in Azkaban.
None of that is true. Except for the waiting part. She's been waiting since June 24th. Is when she sent the message. Anyway, so, we're going to be talking about the Cleveland torso murderer, also known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. Do you know anything about this?
There were murders, and torsos were involved. I assume there were also butcher knives involved, cleavers and such. It happened in Kingsbury, Cleveland.
Okay, I was going to say, like, where... Because the name the Cleveland torso murderer doesn't tell me where it happened, really. I guess let's stop wasting time and just get into this. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick disclaimer here, guys. This was a fairly recent bout of killings. If you've listened to the podcast before, we're fairly irreverent. We're not going to, be extremely disrespectful, but we are going to tell jokes about this. Because we haven't really covered anything like this before. So if you do not feel that you would be comfortable with listening to us tell irreverent jokes about these murders, please turn the episode off right now. This is not a joke. I'm just letting you know so that you don't get mad at me later when I start making fun of the victims or something. The Cleveland torso murderer, or the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
Mm-hmm. Better name.
I get it. You like that name better, okay?
Yeah. I want it to stick.
Was an unidentified serial killer who was active in Cleveland, Ohio in the 1930s. Now, all of the killings were characterized by dismemberment of these 12 victims of the killer and the disposal of their remains
Of their romaines?
He took their lettuce.
Tossed them up into a salad.
Adding insult to injury. It's depression.
Oh,
they don't have a whole lot of food.
Yeah.
So he killed them and took their food.
And then he ate them because cannibalism.
Did he eat them?
I don't know.
I don't think he ate them.
I'm making a guess because it's Depression era and he's a mad butcher. Butchers butcher meat for sale. And now I'm getting Sweeney Todd vibes.
Okay. I was like, wait, do you know more about this than me?
No, I'm just fully bullshitting.
Shit. I'm in my squeaky chair.
Oh.
Alright, so if you hear sorry guys, I'm going to try to sit still. So most of the victims came from an area east of Kingsbury Run called the Roaring Third. It was known for its bars, its gambling dens, and its brothels. And another name for this area was the Hobo Jungle.
I love that. The Hobo Jungle.
Because as you may have guessed by the name, it was home to a bunch of vagrants.
Mm-hmm.
But Hobo Jungle makes me think that it's a jungle made of hobos.
Yeah, I'm just like imagining like George of the Jungle, except there's a whole lot of Georges.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, instead of trees, there are hobos. So, the official number of murders attributed to the Cleveland torso murderer is 12, but recent research has shown that there could have been as many as 20.
Oh, yikes. That is a lot.
That's a bit of a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think he might have killed 5, but he also might have killed like 600 people. We don't know.
We're not entirely sure. We haven't really counted the torsos. We found a bunch of fingers, though. They might have come from different people or the same people. We're not entirely sure.
This is going back to the Spring Heel Jack thing, like how cops are incompetent, usually in these cases.
Why are cops so bad?
Yeah, so it could have been as many as 20, but we know of 12. And the 12 known victims were killed between 1935 and 1938. Some investigators, including lead Cleveland detective Peter Merylo, Merylo.
Merylo.
Some investigators believe that there have been 13 or more victims in the Cleveland, Youngstown, and Pittsburgh areas between 1920s and 1950s. 2 strong candidates for addition in the initial list of those killed are the unknown victim nicknamed the Lady of the Lake, found on September 5th, 1934.
Found in the lake of her own blood.
Maybe. I assume it was more because she was found near or in a lake.
True. It's a romantic name, though.
Also, Robert Robertson, who was found on July 22nd of 1950.
Oh, bless his heart.
So the victims of the torso murderer were usually drifters, and their identities were never determined, although there were a few exceptions. Victims numbers 2, 3, and 8, which we'll get into all 12 victims here in a bit, were identified as Edward Andrassy, Florence Palio, and possibly Rose Wallace, respectively.
Possibly Rose Wallace.
I like how they're like, yeah, we've only got definite names for 3 people. Well, we're not entirely sure that the last one's name was Rose Wallace. We've only got definite names for 2 people.
We have like a possible, maybe definite name for 1 person. The rest of you are right out.
All we know is she had an ID. It said Rose Wallace.
She could have stolen it. We don't know.
The victims appeared to be lower class individuals, which would be easy prey in Depression-era Cleveland.
Yeah.
Many of them were known as working poor, who had nowhere else to live but these shanty towns in the area, known as the Cleveland Flats. So the torso murderer always beheaded and often dismembered his victims.
Just not every time, but just most times. Why wasn't he known as like the cranium murderer instead of the torso murderer if he mostly beheaded people?
I think it's because usually what they found was the torso. Like they always found the torso. I don't know.
The head was a trophy.
Like I said, I skimmed this, so I'm not entirely sure. You probably know just as much as I do.
Yeah, fair enough. He kept a shelf of skulls.
Like, we are learning about this together.
Because he is a sick It's a magical experience when you learn about murders together.
Always beheaded, often dismembered the victims. And occasionally he would sever the victim's torso in half, or just like cut their appendages up for some reason. Like, this dude's just like sick. He's sick.
Yeah, he's 1 step away from air vacuuming kittens in a bag.
Why would you mention that?
Because one of my friends was watching a documentary about a sicko who did that, and it's stuck in my head.
Because one of my friends was air vacuuming kittens in a bag, and I didn't stop them.
No, my friend wasn't doing it. She was watching a documentary about a guy who did it. It's true crime.
I bet. She wasn't watching a documentary. She was making one because she was filming herself doing it.
Oh, no, don't say that. You'll make her cry. She loves her cats. She was ranting about it because she was very upset.
In many cases, the cause of death was the decapitation or dismemberment.
Why are you laughing? What is there to laugh about? This isn't a funny topic. It's quite serious, my dude.
Because in many cases, the death was caused by the decapitation or dismemberment. Duh!
Like, was there any doubt? Like, was it caused by, like a heart attack before this all started, or what?
It's just, like, I get it, like maybe he caved their heads in or something first, but it's just funny to think of it like that. Like, in many of these shooting deaths, the cause of death was bullets to the chest. Like, duh.
Yeah, it's a large leap in logic to assume that someone having their head cut off would, in fact, cause their demise. I know many headless horsemen,
Oh, man. Well, he jumped off this building. What was the cause of death? I don't know. What could have been the cause of death?
He just got too excited on his way down and keeled over right in midair.
I'm just imagining, like, a buddy cop movie where that's like, I don't know, Johnson, what could have caused death of this guy who jumped off of a 20-story... Okay, you know what? You can just stop right there, okay? There's no need to make fun of me.
Yeah. Just have, like, a war room of, like, hospice... Not hospice. What do you call nurses in an emergency room? I don't know. Grey's Anatomy, whatever.
Nurses?
Yeah, but just a war room of them being like, what is the cause of death here? Can we really be sure it's what is apparently there? I mean, like a broken neck?
Like, they just walk up to the crime scene and there's, like, 3 decapitated bodies. What's the cause of death here? Let's say that not having a head was a pretty good cause.
Yeah? But was that post or ante-mortem? That is the important thing. We must conduct autopsies.
I get that that's the point of the sentence, is that, like, maybe he, like, caved their heads in or bled them to death first or something. It just struck me funny.
Yeah.
Because, again, I just skimmed this, so this was the first time I had read this sentence.
It's just like the doctors appear on scene for, like, the crime scene analysis, and they're like, oh, good, he's already done our autopsy for me.
Yeah, we already did the autopsy, Doc. Oh, really? What was the cause of death? Well, you see, he doesn't have a head.
Oh. I don't know why that struck me funny right then. We've been talking about it for a bit, but soda went up my nose. Oh, that hurt.
So we figured we didn't really need to cut him open. I mean, look at the poor bastard. He's just a torso. He's been through enough.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Like I said, we're going to be very irreverent about this.
It's very f***ed up.
So, most of the male victims were castrated.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious, castration. Continue.
Some of the victims showed evidence of chemical treatment being applied to their bodies. It does not say what kind of chemical treatment, just chemical treatment. So
acid.
I was going to say maybe acid.
Cauterized with acid.
God, that is just terrible.
Isn't it?
Many of the victims were found after a considerable period of time following their deaths. Occasionally in excess of a year.
Oh, that would be awful.
Which I'm guessing, especially back then, would have led to why a lot of these people were unidentified.
Oh, absolutely. Because, like, you have just, a rib cage and some spine at that point.
They're already drifters, so they're not going to have any kind of dental records or anything. And then their body has been decomposing for a year. So, yeah, I doubt that they would be able to identify back then without, the forensics stuff that we have now. So.
Yeah, I don't think when did people develop dental identification?
I don't know.
Of course, they'd have to have, a regular dentist in order for that to work. So if they were vagrants, maybe not.
In an era when forensic science was largely in infancy. Oh, we actually talked about this. It just says this stuff further complicated identification.
Oh.
Especially since the heads were often undiscovered.
There we go with the heads again. Off with their heads.
It all comes back to these motherfuckers didn't have heads.
Yeah. How can you identify a person without a face?
So, real quick, we're going to run through the murders.
Yeah, okay.
And now this is in the order of discovery. The first victim, Edward Andrassy, was found September 23rd, 1935 in Jackass Hill area of Kingsbury Run.
They have a hill named Jackass?
That's what it says.
Why?
I know. He was probably murdered. He was probably the second victim because he was found about 30 feet from the first John Doe.
Okay.
But they think that he was probably murdered second.
So like the feeling I'm getting from this is the killer found a vagrant that they wanted to murderize, and then this actual to-do guy came up and was like, hey, what now? What are you doing? And then there was another murderizing, because you can't leave a witness.
Andresi he had been decapitated and emasculated. His head was recovered.
Okay.
Apparently it was 2 to 3 days between death and discovery for this guy. The second victim, who was probably the first murdered, John Doe number 1, same place, again, was only about 30 feet from Edward Andresi, was a male body that was never identified, emasculated, decapitated, head recovered. Skin was treated with a chemical agent that caused it to become reddish and leathery. Holy shit. Was this dude trying to make skin?
I mean,
Remember skin coats?
Well, yeah, skin coats. It also was the Mad Butcher, so maybe he ran a tannery or something?
Oh my god, this guy was Spring-Heeled Jack.
Oh no! The skin is made of people!
Here's the really weird part, though. Apparently, this dude was, between death and discovery, was 7 to 10 days.
Huh.
But then it was later revised to 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, shit.
Which means, I don't know what it means. Like, maybe the killer brought Edward Andresi over and killed him here with this person?
Maybe. Maybe he used formaldehyde or something to keep the freshness? Huh. Or maybe the material, the substance they used to, like, redden the skin and make it leathery also preserved the corpse for a bit?
Maybe. Victim number 3 was Florence Genevieve Polio.
Okay.
Found January 26th. She was found downtown Cleveland. Her body had been dismembered. Her head was recovered. It was 2 to 4 days between death and discovery for her, where she was number 3, killed third. The fourth one discovered was John Doe number 2, also nicknamed the Tattooed Man. He was found June 5th, 1936 in Kingsbury Run.
With rockin' tats.
Apparently. He was decapitated while he was alive. What was the cause of death?
What was the cause of death? Decapitated while alive.
His head was also recovered. Apparently, between death and discovery was 2 days. He was probably the 5th person murdered. So, like, if you'll notice, like, it's not they're finding them out of order that they were murdered.
Yeah.
Because then number 5 was John Doe number 3, found July 22nd, 1936, between Big Creek area of Brooklyn, in the Big Creek area of Brooklyn, which is west of Cleveland. He was dismembered while still alive. His head was recovered. Unidentified male body. He was the only known West Side.
West Side?
West Side.
Oh, West Side. Okay, so he was part of West Side Story.
West Side.
West Side.
2 months between death and discovery. 4th murder. Number 6 found was John Doe number 4 on September 10th, 1936 in Kingsbury Run. Only half of his torso was found. Nothing remained below the hips, and the head was never found, nor was the body identified.
Just half a torso.
Yeah, like nothing below the hips.
Where did the legs go? Just one half a torso.
It doesn't say. I know as much as you do about this.
Like, just imagine the feat of strength, the great strength of feat required to dismember someone, rend their torso from their legs, from their head, and cut it in half. Like, was half the spine there? Was the spine just like shlick right in half, or was like the spine in like shattered pieces, or was it like, I don't know. It's just like,
I know you're asking rhetorical questions. I don't have the answers to any of them.
I know. It's just like, how do you do that?
I mean, I'm sure he had tools.
Yeah, he was the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Row, after all.
Like, he's not just going around ripping people in half with his bare hands.
Oh, could you imagine that, though?
It was 2 days between death and discovery. He was probably the 7th killed. 7th found was the first Jane Doe on February 23rd, 1937 in Euclid Beach on the shore of Lake Erie.
Quite an eerie place for a murder.
The unidentified female body was found in the same spot as the 1934 non-canonical victim nicknamed Lady of the Lake.
Non-canonical?
So, yeah.
So this is like a fan fiction death?
No, I remember she was one of the ones that was like possibly a victim, but they couldn't like.
Huh.
There weren't enough similarities to definitely be like, yes, this person was a victim of.
Okay.
Which we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Just non-canonical is a phrase.
Which I was right. Remember, said she was probably found by a lake.
Yeah. Yeah. You were right. Yeah.
This one's head was never found. Probably 3 to 4 days between death and discovery. Probably the 8th killed. The 8th found was Jane Doe number 2, June 6, 1937, beneath the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge. This was the only black victim, and the body was decapitated, missing a rib. The head was recovered. No idea why it was missing a rib.
Well, they had to create a new Eve, of course.
I guess. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about...
Maybe they stole that one to give back to Adam.
That's what this was all about.
Yeah, it was finding Adam's rib. It just got passed down generation to generation.
I mean, she is black, therefore she would have been...
In the direct line?
Yeah, closer to being direct descendant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She was found a year after she was killed.
Oh, shit.
And she was probably the 6th one killed. Number 9, John Doe 5, July 6, 1937. Pulled out of the Cuyahoga River in the Cleveland Flats. The body of this male was recovered, but the head was never found. Time between recovery and death was 2 to 3, or discovery and death was probably 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Probably the 9th person killed. Number 10, Jane Doe number 3, also pulled out of the Cuyahoga River on April 8th, 1938. This one's got quite a bit. Only the victim's lower leg was discovered on April 8th.
Okay.
But then on May 2nd, a thigh was discovered floating in the river to the east of the West 3rd Street Bridge, and they started a search, which turned up a burlap sack containing the victim's headless torso cut in 2 halves. I don't know why it specifies 2 halves, because that's exactly what a halve is.
Yeah.
Well, a half.
2 halves might be a couple quarters.
It's the same logic as... It's the same logic as, yeah, most of these people were probably killed by decapitation.
Yeah, we got 2 halves over here.
Notice he's missing his head. I think we have a cause of death here.
Yeah. Who knows? They might have been stabbed to death.
They also found, in the burlap sack, they also found another thigh and a left foot. The head and the rest of the body were never found, and this was the only victim to have had drugs in her system.
Oh.
Time between discovery and death was 3 to 5 days. Probably the last victim killed. 11th found Jane Doe number 4 on East 9th Street at the Lakeshore Dump on August 16th, 1938. Was also found there was John Doe number 6 on the same date. The Jane Doe was decapitated, but the head was recovered. And then the John Doe, his head was found in a can.
In a can?
Yep, that's what it says.
Well, Prince Albert's in the can, I guess.
But
yeah,
they believe that the John Doe was killed first because it was like 7 to 9 months between discovery and death, and the Jane Doe was 4 to 6 months.
That makes sense, yeah. Just why would you can a head?
Why would you do any of this?
I don't know. Just pickled heads.
This is clearly not a mentally well person.
Wait, what if this person was just decapitating them so that they could be revived in the Futurama future where people are just heads in jars?
I think my silence speaks for itself.
Fair. Wild idea. I just had like a flash of a vision of like pickled heads in jars, Futurama. that was my thought process. So the possible victims that we've talked about, there were several non-canonical. I don't know why they call it canonical. This isn't a anyway. It's not a fan fiction. So the several non-canonical victims were discussed in connection to this murder. The first one was the Lady of the Lake that we talked about. Mm-hmm. There was also the headless body of an unidentified male that was found in a boxcar in Newcastle, Pennsylvania on July 1st, 1936. A boxcar? Mm-hmm. Like a train boxcar? Yes. Huh. Yes. Okay. There were 3 headless victims were found in boxcars near McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania on May 3rd, 1940, and all bore similar injuries to those inflicted by the torso murderer. But they were dismembered.
but there's no but. Just that. I think it was they had similar injuries, but they were not similar enough to definitively be like, yes, this was the same killer, especially since these were found in Pennsylvania and not in Cleveland.
Well, who knows? Maybe he took a day trip and got bored.
Well, I mean, this is after all the others were killed, so there is a good possibility he moved on after people, like maybe they were getting close to catching him or something.
Yeah.
So he moved on.
Moved out of state, and one of those guys in the boxcar was like he could have been traveling in a train boxcar with these guys, and like he's putting up his luggage, and then whoopsie daisy, a pickled head happens to fall out. Great, now I gotta kill these guys and the chicken.
I mean, I feel like if it was the same person, it probably wasn't because they discovered a head in his luggage. It was probably just because he wanted to kill more people.
Yeah, it's hard to kick the habit.
Murder is, I gotta tell you, man, I was a murderer for about 10 years.
Oh yeah?
They tell you that if you do a thing for 3 weeks straight, for 21 days in a row, you can form a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard forming that habit of not killing people anymore.
Yeah, I mean, how was Murderers Anonymous treating you?
I never went.
Oh, you never went? You just went cold turkey?
It was too religious for me.
Oh.
They kept talking about how the Bible says thou shalt not murder, and, you know. There were also dismembered bodies found in swamps near Newcastle between 1921 and 1934, and between 1939 and 1942. These murders they referred to this killer as the murder swamp killer, which I feel like...
The murder swamp killer sounds a little redundant, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're putting a hat on a hat.
Hey, I see you got a nice hat there. Let me put a hat on your hat. Here's an even tinier hat for your little hat.
Yes, and here's a monocle.
Yes, what? And a top hat to cover all your hats. It's a matryoshka hat.
And then on July 22nd, 1950, the body of 41-year-old Robert Robertson was found in a business in Cleveland on Davenport Avenue. Mm-hmm. And the police believed he had been dead 6 to 8 weeks, and he appeared to have been intentionally decapitated. His death fits the profile of all the other victims.
Yeah.
Like, he was estranged from his family, had an arrest record and a drinking problem, he was on the fringes of society. So, and for some reason, in 1939, the torso killer claimed to have killed a victim in Los Angeles.
He claimed to? Like, is he suddenly seeking attention?
I don't know. Like, this would have been after all of the other torso killers.
Yeah, no, that's clearly a copycat. If you've got, like, a serial killer that you can't catch because he's not, like, advertising where he is, and it's like you only find his bodies, like, weeks after he's already done the crime, and then suddenly, hey, guys, I'm halfway across the country, and I did a thing! No, they don't do that.
The really weird part about that, like, this is just a one-line, 2-sentence bit about this, and it's that he claimed to have killed someone in Los Angeles, and then an investigation uncovered animal bones.
Oh my gosh. It's like, you can't even kill a real person. You only went after animals. What kind of butcher are you? I just wanted to be like you, Dad. Well, you ain't.
Who taught you how to kill people? I learned it from watching you, Dad.
I learned it from watching you.
During the time of the official murders,
the
famous Elliot Ness held the position of Public Safety Director of Cleveland, which had authority over the police department and ancillary services, including the fire department. And while Ness had little to do with the investigation, his posthumous reputation as the leader of the Untouchables, Ness did contribute to the arrest and interrogation of one of the prime suspects, which we'll talk about suspects here in a second. Dr. Francis E. Sweeney. Oh my God, Sweeney.
Sweeney. It's Sweeney Todd. Oh my God.
Holy shit. Maybe it was Sweeney Todd.
Da-da-da-da.
He also personally conducted raids into hobo shanties, and eventually he burned down the Kingsbury Run from where all the victims were taken from. And at one point in time, the killer taunted Ness by placing the remains of 2 of his victims in full view of his office in City Hall. Which, I don't know, in my mind, I'm just imagining that the killer's out there using them like puppets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Ness, look, it's us, the victims, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's such a shit detective, he never caught the killer. And the killer's just sitting there like...
He has enough body parts to make meat puppets. It's not that far off.
Just sitting there taunting him like, almost like Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh my god.
But he's just like taunting him with these f***ing corpse puppets.
Oh, jeez. All he has to do is switch out the heads.
Yeah. Or like, have you seen I Am Legend?
Yeah, I have.
Like where he leaves the mannequins all over town? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of imagining that. Like he's just leaving these sewn together corpse abominations all over town for... Mm-hmm. And it's like, Sam, what are you doing out here?
And Sam just doesn't respond. It takes him a few minutes to realize, oh yeah,
right.
I killed him. His left foot was delicious.
There's no evidence that he was a cannibal.
There's no evidence that he had meat puppets either, but here we are talking about it.
This is just like your theory about the lead desk mats and how the guys were gay.
I pick a theme and I circle back around to it. That's how you have connections and conspiracy theories. This is how you make a what I don't know what words are.
You seem to have that problem every episode.
Yeah, English is a hard language, you know.
Okay, so suspects.
Suspects.
On August 24th, 1939, a Cleveland resident named Frank Dolezal, age 52, was arrested as a suspect in the murder of Florence Palio. He later died under suspicious circumstances in the Cuyahoga County Jail.
Okay.
Most investigators consider that the last canonical murder was in 1938, and one suspected individual, as we talked about a minute ago, was Dr. Francis E. Sweeney. He was born on May 5th in 1984. He was born in 1984, a good 50 years before the first murder.
Time traveler.
Didn't I say, wasn't he? Shit, man, I hadn't even read this yet. He was born May 5th, 1894. He was a veteran of World War I, and he was part of a medical unit that conducted amputations in the field. Again, he was interviewed directly by Elliot Ness, and during the interrogations, Sweeney is said to have failed to pass 2 very early polygraph machine tests. So both tests were administered by a polygraph expert, Leonard Keeler, who told Elliot Ness that this was the guy.
Uh-huh.
And Ness apparently felt that there was little chance of obtaining a successful prosecution of the doctor, especially because he was the first cousin of one of Ness's political opponents.
Oh, that'll always have a hand in it.
And this political opponent had hounded Ness publicly about his failure to catch the killer. After Sweeney committed himself, there were no more leads or connections that the police could assign to him as a possible suspect. And from his hospital confinement, Sweeney sent threatening postcards and harassed Ness and his family well into the 1950s, which is just hilarious.
Yeah, just from the hospital. When I get out of this hospital bed, I swear to God, I'm gonna come over and cut your torso in half.
I may be in a loony bin, but I'm still gonna kill everybody that you know.
Why would they even send those letters out?
I don't know. That's the weirdest part. It's like, why would you let him do that?
Shits and giggles, it gets boring in the loony bin. We want someone else to suffer with us.
Right. In 1997, there was another theory that was put forth that there may have been more than one. There wasn't just one guy. This was based on the assumption that the autopsy results were inconclusive and that the Cuyahoga County coroner, Arthur J. Pierce, may have been inconsistent in his analysis as to whether the cuts on the bodies were expert or slapdash. And his successor, Samuel Gerber, began to enjoy press attention from his involvement in the cases, and he garnered a reputation for sensational theories.
Well, you know that first guy that they got died under suspicious circumstances?
It was probably, you say what you're going to say. Let's say it on 3 together, and we'll see if we match. Okay.
All right.
1, 2, 3. He was. You're not.
That doesn't work, did it?
He was an alien. Yes, exactly.
Nah, a master-apprentice relationship. He was the apprentice. He was sloppy, and he was trying to learn from the master. But he got caught, and so the master had to come and kill him. Couldn't let his secrets come out.
I mean, they do say that one can keep a secret better than two.
But two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
And that's all we've got on him on this case. So,
All right.
what are your thoughts? What do you think? Who did it? Who done it? Who was the Cleveland torso murderer?
Clearly, it was the aliens.
This is one of the few where aliens were not suspected.
One of the few. So clearly, it had to be aliens. No.
Maybe the only single one.
Okay, only one alien in all of existence, Doctor Who. The bad timeline. But no. I don't know. It could have been I don't know. It could have been, because the army doctor, the amputee guy, he was born 50 years too early, right?
Not necessarily.
How is he a time traveler again?
No, because I said that the first time I said he was born in 1984.
Oh.
He was born in 1894.
Oh, okay. That's how that happened. I forgot.
But since the first murders happened in like 1933, that would have meant that he was born 50 years after the murders.
The army doctor guy could have done it, because, I mean, war will fuck you up. And he would have the knowledge and the strength to rend human flesh from human bone. And he would be desensitized. He'd have been doing it so much that it wouldn't matter so much to him anymore. And maybe the first guy that was caught was his apprentice. Maybe it was a dumb shit who got caught.
Maybe. So here's what I think happened.
Okay.
Here's what I know happened.
Lay it on me. What happened? Oh, masters in mysteriology.
Okay, first off, it's a PhD.
Okay, PhD.
Secondly, you have one too. I don't know how you got that wrong.
I mean, masters come before PhDs, yes?
Yes.
Yes. I slapped some money in a guy's hand and he handed it to me. So, there we go. I skipped straight from associates to PhD.
So here's what happened. What happened was a bunch of people were murdered and they don't know who did it. Mm-hmm. Case solved.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like reality, but okay.
No. So I think... I know. This was... I don't think Sweeney had anything to do with it.
Okay.
Except that maybe he had some knowledge. Well, no, he didn't. No, that he didn't even know anything about it. Yeah,
he was just an innocent veteran, a war veteran, just trying to live his life
and threaten people from an insane asylum.
Yeah, it's not his fault. He was named Sweeney.
What happened was. This was another drifter.
Okay.
Who, the first victim, which was the John Doe number 1.
Yeah.
They were fighting over food. And he killed him and in a bout of rage decapitated him.
And then ate him.
And no.
Okay.
They were fighting over food. The food not being each other. But then he got a taste for it, and he realized he could just go on killing people, and so he kept killing people. Mm-hmm. And when Sweeney came under suspicion, he was like, nobody's going to take credit for this but me. And so he went and killed Sweeney.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Now, how he got into the insane asylum to kill the guy, I don't know. He's a magician or something. He was a street magician. There we go. He was a street magician, and he was trying out a trick where he saws people in half, but he didn't realize that you don't actually saw people in half.
That's called having high intelligence and low wisdom.
Every single victim was him trying to get it right, but still not realizing that it's an illusion and that you don't actually cut people up.
Yeah, that sounds legit. That sounds like about it. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's how they could get killed in such a brutal way and not have any opportunity to fight back.
Yeah, because the box that he put them in to cut them in half, he took with him when he left.
Yeah.
That started out as a joke, but that's what I'm going with. He was a street magician who didn't know that in order to do the cut a person up or cut them in half trick, you don't actually cut them up.
And he's just like, why does no one watch my magic shows? I just want to go to Vegas.
Then he decided to take his show on the road, and that's where we get Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Because like the first boxcar victim, he was performing, like the boxcar victims, he was performing for other hobos on the train.
Yeah. They just snuck into a boxcar, like hobos do, and just he's like, watch my magic trick, guys, and if you like it, then I get the largest score or whatever. I don't know.
The largest score.
I don't know, like playing cards or something. Like they got a bunch of like cans of food. That's something you would bet on a card game, right?
If that's all you had to bet, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I think we've solved it. That's the solution.
Yep. You've convinced me.
Street magician who didn't know what the hell he was doing.
He was just trying his best. He just wanted to go to Vegas, live his dreams.
And then, exactly. He wanted to be a magician. Now, normally this is the part where I would start throwing social medias at you, but we have a couple quick things to talk about. First off, we have officially launched our Patreon.
Woo!
Which you can find at patreon.com/unsolved mysteries solved. Right now there are only 3 tiers. We're going to see how it goes, and if there seems to be a lot of interest in it, we'll add tiers later for like physical merchandise and stuff. But right now the tiers are the lowest tier, $2 a month, a measly $2. You would pay that for coffee. You'd pay less than that for coffee at Starbucks.
Please buy me a cup of coffee. I'm addicted.
But the first tier is $2, and you will be granted the title of Novice Mystery Solver, and you will be also given a personalized shout-out right here on the show. The second tier, you become an Apprentice Mystery Solver,
Oh.
and you gain access to a monthly bonus episode, which will be... Normally I do all the editing, but Cassandra has kindly offered to edit the bonus episodes so that I'm not completely overworked. Third tier would be $10 a month, and that is where you will gain access to weekly, quote, outtakes and be granted the title of Journeyman Mystery Solver.
Woohoo! You've leveled up.
But Cassandra would also be taking care of the editing of that, but basically it's like a behind the scenes thing.
Mm-hmm.
All of the stupid jokes that we cut, all the
stuff that couldn't get put in for time that we just, and like the jokes where we're like, we get halfway through it and then we're like, is this funny? We're not sure. Wait, did we just get Kansas and Kentucky mixed up? Oh no, we sound stupid.
Or the times that we go off on a 45-minute tangent talking about religion, video games, or whatever, that would be...
Oh yeah. Didn't we go off on a tangent about Diablo this time?
A little bit.
Yeah.
The Patreon is up now, but the very first outtake would probably go up on the 5th with the first episode of next month. Mm-hmm. And then the first bonus episode would be a couple weeks after that, probably. So we went ahead and published it early so you guys could kind of go look and check out the tiers and see what you want to do. And we've talked about this for way too long. In the meantime, guys, as usual, you can send us any mysteries that you want us to solve right here on the podcast. You can send those to mysteriessolvedpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at UMS_podcast, on Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved, or on the brand new, well, it's not brand new anymore, but on the Facebook group or Discord server. And please go rate, review on iTunes. We love to hear what you think, even if it's bad. Because if it's bad, I almost want bad reviews so I can call your bitch ass out right here on the show.
We will read your bitch ass comments out, and we'll have call outs and just organize UMC fights, because apparently that's what you're supposed to do if you've got internet beef nowadays.
Like, leave a 5-star rating, but then leave a bad review. That way we get the benefit of the 5-star rating, but I can still call your bitch ass out. Anyway, and also please remember that if you question us...
we will put you down.
Exactly. Thank you, Cassandra.
You're welcome. I like that one.
I think that's all we got this week, and we'll catch you right back here next week for a brand new episode with a brand new mystery.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye!
Shut up, man. This is why I don't do these things in person.
Obsessed with UFOs and extraterrestrials?
Convinced there's a chupacabra in your backyard?
Is your doppelganger ruining your life?
Do you love all things haunting related?
If you answered yes to any,
Or none of these?
then these are the mostly sensical, slightly drunken ramblings for you? Question mark? I'm Emily.
And I'm Joel, and we're the hosts of Drink Drunk Dead. Join us
Our two cats, Emma and Otto, and our house ghost,
every week as we have a few drinks, discuss all things paranormal,
and raise a toast to our ghosts.